Okay, hi everyone. Patrick here. In today's conversation with authors, it has been a while, but this time we have someone truly special here. We have Joe Hill. Yeah, hi Joe. So please introduce yourself first. Although I don't think anyone need an introduction to you here.
Patrick, it's so great to talk to you. I'm Joe Hill, the author of Heart Shaped Box, Nosferatu, The Black Phone, and most recently, King Sorrow.
Yeah, King Sorrow. It has been a while, right, since you released a book. I think the Fireman came out in 2016, isn't it?
That's correct. It's been almost 10 years, but I didn't vanish into a
Ah,
shack in the Vermont woods and cut off all contact with civilization. And I didn't pull a J.D. Salinger. I I had written two very long novels back to back, The Fireman and Nosferatu.
oh,
And after that, I thought it was important to get small again. So I did a book of novellas. I did a book of short stories.
mm,
I wrote a number of screenplays. I do a lot of work in film and TV,
mm.
and also I have another life as a comic book writer, and
Oh
so
yeah.
I threw myself into that, and I wrote five or six new graphic novels. So I was busy. I did a lot of other stuff, but around
Wait.
about I think 2019, I thought it's time to get back to the day job. So,
Uh,
I began writing King Sorrow around then, and it took me about 3 years. And then because of the way publishing works, because of this, there's a lot of curiosities to the publishing pipeline. Although I
mm.
finished the book in 2022, we didn't manage publication until 2025, which that kind of thing does sometimes happen.
And you certainly came with this. I mean, this is absolutely massive, man.
It's a big one. It's a big one. It's my longest novel yet, but that length can be a little bit deceptive. I write a lot of dialogue. Dialogue is very zippy to read, zooms right along, but it takes up a lot of space. So it's easy to write 5 pages of dialogue, which can be read in 5 minutes. But of course,
uh,
that all takes up a lot of space. I write a lot of chapters that are just 2 or 3 paragraphs long. So that
mm,
also takes up a lot of space. If I did my job well, it's a long book, but it shouldn't read like a long book. It should zip right along, and my goal is always to do all the heavy lifting so that the reader can just enjoy.
I think I don't know how it is for you since 2016, but for me personally, I have never seen so much hype as much as King Sorrow lately for a standalone novel. It's so awesome to see that. And do you actually have any plan to turn this into a series? Probably.
There is right now. It has been optioned for TV, and they're developing it. But lots of
Oh,
things get
really?
yeah, absolutely. But lots of things get optioned. I mean, this is very if especially if you work in commercial fiction, if you write stuff that kind of has a cinematic edge to it, and if you work with sort of cinematic style concepts, it's quite common for something to get optioned for a year or 18 months. And that's basically someone says, I'd love to make a movie out of this, or I'd love to make a TV show out of this. Let me rent it for 18 months, and I'll write a screenplay, and I'll try to get a director or a producer or a movie star involved, and we'll see if we can't make this. And so they'll pay you a sum, $10,000, something like that, and so that they can have exclusive rights to it for 18 months. And some authors joke that the dream is that they never actually make the film, or they never actually make the TV show. They just keep optioning it. You just keep getting optioned, and then you get this steady source of income for years. The thing is if someone actually makes the film or makes the TV show, suddenly it turns off the money tap. You don't get that continuous. You get one big final payment, and then that's usually about it. There's some
Oh,
more
I
there. It's not
see.
always. It's still pretty good if they make the film or TV show, but in any event, so lots of stuff gets optioned, but very little gets made. We'll see if King Sorrow goes forward. I certainly hope it does.
Yeah, I think it will.
In terms of the hype, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I finished the book in 2022, but it didn't come out until October of 2025, which is quite a while later. But one of the reasons why is I think that my publishers, both my US publisher and my UK publisher, felt that it could be a pretty successful book, that it was a special book, and they had a chance to you know, really step up my profile and get readers excited about it. So they began to set up a marketing campaign, and that also takes time. That
Oh.
also, they also need a good year to 18 months to build, a really large scale marketing campaign. And I feel very lucky. That they were willing to do that for King Sorrow.
So
They
it's
certainly
just
they certainly
sitting there
backed it to the
for
hill.
like
Go
three
ahead. I'm
years?
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean the books is just sitting there since 2022 until 2025.
Not quite. It had to be rewritten and then rewritten again.
Ah,
I
yeah, yeah,
usually
yeah.
do. I usually do 5 drafts on a book. So you had to go through a process of rewrite, and then like I say, actually, even if you don't have a massive marketing campaign, it's
Mm-hmm.
still usually 9 months to a year after you get to a final draft before the book comes out. I don't know if this is boring to hear or if it's interesting, but
It's interesting.
booksellers like Barnes and Noble in the States or Waterstones in the UK,
Yeah.
they want to know a year ahead of time what the publishers are releasing, and
Uh-huh.
they have to make decisions about how many copies to buy and so on. And so you really have this kind of long run up to the release of a book when you work through mainstream publishing. There are certainly exceptions. There are certainly it's not always true. It's not impossible for a publisher to crash something into press and have it out in 6 weeks. That can be done, but that would be a
Wow.
really unusual case.
Okay, okay. And since you mentioned about writing comics as well, graphic novel, I have actually read Lock and Key. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah, Lock and Key. So, other than Lock and Key, some of your books have all been adapted into a TV show and also all that. Are you
Yeah.
always involved in all of them in the writing or maybe in the production?
Sometimes, not always. Now and
Hmm.
then I've been invited to put my hand in. Once or twice I've adapted things myself and
Oh,
had much
which?
more direct involvement. So with Lock and Key was the
Mm,
comic book that I wrote for 15 years. For those who haven't read it, it's about a New England house that's 200 years old, that's full of enchanted keys. Every key opens a different door and activates a different supernatural power.
yeah.
And there's like 100 keys in Key House, and of course there's an adversary who wants to control the keys, and so that's the basic setup. It was a pretty commercial concept, and so it was first adapted to television by Fox TV in 2010. And
Yeah.
they filmed a pilot directed by Mark Romanek, and it looked great. It was a really terrific episode, a really terrific hour of TV. Ultimately, they did not air it. It did not get on TV.
Oh.
They only had a slot for one new show, and they wound up making Alcatraz instead of Lock and Key. So
Oh,
the
I
2010
see.
pilot for Fox never aired.
Hmm.
And then a few years later, I wrote a pilot script for Lock and Key. I wrote a script myself, and then Hulu picked it up. The
Hulu.
Disney affiliate Hulu picked it up, and Andy Muschietti, who had directed It Chapter One, came in
Yeah.
and he directed the pilot, and it was
Nice.
terrifying, and it had all the energy of It Chapter One. It was just an absolute masterpiece, and Hulu also didn't make the show. And the reason why Hulu didn't make the show, everyone loved it. Everyone thought it was a great hour of TV. Hulu didn't make the show because at that moment they were being bought out by Disney.
Oh,
And
okay.
and a lot of shows were getting killed. Very little of what was in the pipeline made it through. Disney
Wow.
just canceled stuff out of hand because they wanted to start with a clean slate. So that can happen too. The corporate shenanigans can also kill something. Ultimately, Netflix
Yeah.
picked up Lock and Key, and we wound up getting 3 seasons with Netflix. My original pilot, which I wrote for Hulu, was revised
Hmm.
by a terrific screenwriter named Aaron Collette. And elements that I developed for Hulu did make it into the final Netflix show. And then I
Mm.
came back in season 3, and I co-wrote an episode with Carlton Cuse. Um, so, so sometimes I've been pretty involved, and I was
Mhm.
somewhat, I was pretty involved with Lock and Key. I wasn't like one of the staff writers, but I had my
Yeah.
hand in. Then there are other cases like there was an adaptation of a short story of mine called Abraham's Boys that came out earlier this year. I think it's a wonderful movie. It stars Titus Welliver as Abraham Van Helsing. It's dark. It's a dark, gothic character study of a controlling and dangerous man. I thought it was a really satisfying little film. Didn't do very well. It got poor reviews, and audiences generally didn't seem to like it very much either. I don't think the marketing was very good. They kind of sold it as if it was going to be a movie about vampires, and actually it really isn't about vampires. It's about family dysfunction. I'm still kind of hopeful, though, that with time, I think maybe people will come around to it. That it was a really good picture, but like I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't, it was Natasha Kermani adapted and directed. She did a wonderful job. It's very faithful to the story, and I was a big fan of it. But so there's a whole range of being, either being closely tied in or holding it at having it at a distance. I've been very lucky. All the adaptations I think have been pretty good. There hasn't been any real stinkers yet.
And speaking of adaptations, especially lately with so many adaptations going around right now. So one of the things topics that really, really often pops out is that how faithful it is to the original material.
Yeah.
Right. But from your perspective, how difficult is it actually to adapt everything to be super faithful to the books?
I don't know that it's all that important to be super faithful. Not to the page by page, scene by scene flow of the story. You can do things in books and in a short story or in a comic book that you can't do on the screen. And conversely, there are things you can do in a film that you can't do in a book. For example, films have music and sound effects, and that's not something that the creator of a comic book or the writer of a novel has access to. On the other hand, a novel can bring you right into a character's thoughts.
Yeah.
You can understand what a character is feeling and thinking by looking right inside their head.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that in a movie. You only have the actor's expressions. You only have the actor's ability to present emotion, to let you know how they're feeling. So different forms have different strengths. I think it is important to be faithful to the core essentials of the story and the character. My friend C. Robert Cargill, who was the co-screenwriter on The Black Phone and The Black Phone 2, he talks about this, and he's had really interesting things to say about it's always terrific to be perfectly faithful to the source material. But sometimes to make a successful movie, you also have to make changes. In the case of The Black Phone, which is probably the best of the adaptations, they used every single thing in the story, every line of dialogue, every plot development. That's all in the film. But The Black Phone was just a short story that's about 25, 30 pages long. And if you only filmed the short story, you'd have a movie that was less than a half hour.
Yeah.
It would just be the world. It would just be a short film.
Yeah.
But so they built it out. They had a lot of great stuff in the movie that's a reflection on Scott Derrickson's childhood, growing up in the 1970s in dirty North Denver. And the heart of the movie is really in those autobiographical experiences. And then C. Robert Cargill, who is the co-screenwriter, he's a real engineer. He's great at developing narrative, and he introduced this whole escape room mechanic. How is our hero, who is trapped in a serial killer's basement, going to escape? And there's a little bit of that in the short story, but he built it out in a very, very interesting way, so that everything Finney learns is another tool for escaping the grabber, our antagonist. And I thought that was really interesting. And the reason the film works is you have three different creators, Cargill, Scott, and myself, and you sort of get the best of all of us working in concert. So I guess
I have to watch that.
That's a pretty long answer to your question about being faithful, but
Nah,
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's good to know this from perspective of someone who have been really involved because this topic gets thrown out a lot online lately. And also, speaking, this is going back to King Soro because someone's mentioned this is such an insane interview. So, well, what's his new book? This is his new book, King Soro. It is, as I said, absolutely epic. And well,
Here's the U.S. cover.
ta-da! Joe Hill can mention this to you himself. So, Joe, what's King Soro about? No spoiler, of course.
Okay, here's the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so King Sorrow begins in 1989 and introduces us to 6 friends who are attending a liberal arts college in on the seacoast of Maine, and they all bond over shared love of the occult. So what these 6 friends really like to do is they like to have a few drinks on the weekend and pull down the Ouija board and try to summon something, some spirit, some force into our world. One of these friends finds himself in terrible trouble. He is being blackmailed by a couple local thugs, and these creeps are forcing him to steal books from the college library, specifically books from the library's special collection. Every library has a collection like this where they hold the most expensive books, books worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So Arthur, the kid who's being blackmailed, he's stealing books, and he realizes it's never going to stop until he gets caught, that he can't be, they'll never let him go. And so he turns to his friends for help, and they do what they've always done. They have a few drinks on the weekend, and they try to summon something into our world that can help him. They smash reality and bring a dragon through into our reality. King Sorrow, 700 tons of fun. And King Sorrow solves their immediate problem, but leaves them with a much bigger one, which is that he's in their lives to stay, and he expects them to find a fresh sacrifice every year, or he'll take one of them. And that sets up the moral problem at the center of the book. And then the book skips through time, like a rock across a lake, beginning in 1989, going to 1995, 2000, 2005. And every time we leap forward, one of the friends becomes the new main character and is the star of their own tightly compressed tale of supernatural suspense. So that's basically the book, and there's a lot packed into it, and but hopefully, if you pick it up, it's a you blast right through the pages.
Well, someone just said that the pages just fly by.
Just fly by, yeah. Well, that's really the aim, and part of the way you do that is, you keep switching it up so that the reader, each time out, you present the reader with a situation they didn't expect. So we begin with a tale of dark academia with these 6 friends in college summoning something, and the 6 friends together have done something terrible that they're going to live to regret. So you get that right at the beginning. But then there's another storyline, which is an air disaster thriller with one of my heroes on an airplane at 30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. There's a terrorist on board the plane, and there's a dragon outside the window fighting F-16s. There's another storyline, which is an Indiana Jones-style plunge into a troll's trap-filled cave. There is a story in which 2 of the heroes are abducted by a for-profit paramilitary organization that wants to seize control of the power of the dragon. There is a building collapse and a desperate attempt to rescue survivors. There's a drunken fist fight on roller skates. So, I crammed pretty much everything into the story that I could think of. I shot the works.
Yeah. And speaking of that dragon, I think we did that as the front end paper of this one.
Isn't that great? So that broken
cool,
binding edition, there have been several editions of King Sorrow now, but the broken binding edition by far is the most beautiful.
That's so
papers,
cool to hear, man.
The illustrations and the dragon scale sprayed edge, just great.
Yeah. I had a ton of fun working on this one, and it's also thanks to you and so the publisher.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And also, King Sorrow deserves to become a classic. This is Brothers Gwyn. I think. Do you know him? Do you know
I
them?
do. Well, I also shot a podcast with them.
Ah, okay. Yeah. They're great. They're great. Yeah, everyone is saying that King Sorrow is amazing, man. Look at that. And also, a
Oh,
liberal arts college is doing horrible stuff.
yeah.
But then this is the thing. This is the thing, Joe. Like, this time I'm really seeing people keep on talking about King Sorrow a lot. I think back then, before the release of King Sorrow, the most popular one of your book, I think it was Nosferatu. I
I
think.
think so too. NOS 482. It's a vanity license plate. The guy, that's a
Yeah.
story about a road vampire, a guy named Charlie Manx, who drives this antique Rolls Royce Wraith, and he kidnaps children and he drains their life force, and it's kept him alive for almost a century. That was also adapted. It was made into a pretty good little TV show starring Zachary Quinto.
Ah.
You know, it did pretty well over here in America, and I think it's on Netflix in the US right now. In the UK, it never really got a proper release in the UK. What's especially funny is the paperback cover in the UK is the TV tie-in cover, but it's for a TV show no one in the UK has seen, which is a little amusing. But
And
yeah.
this, look at this one. Personally, Hardship Box was my favorite pre-King Sorrow, but I like all the books.
That's the scariest. Heart-Shaped Box was my first novel, and that's definitely the scariest of them. I mean, Heart-Shaped Box is the story of a 60-year-old heavy metal musician who was, he's been enormously successful. He's had world tours and platinum albums and MTV videos. But when we meet him, this rocker, Judas Coin, is on the downslope of his career, and he's banging around his upstate New York mansion, lonely and angry. He lives with his much younger groupie girlfriend, but when we meet the two of them, they're on the outs with each other. The only thing that makes Jude happy is he has a cabinet of curiosities, a collection of bizarre artifacts. So he's got a trepanned human skull. He's got a 17th century witch's confession. He's got a snuff movie, which is really nasty. And then he hears about a woman selling a suit online, which she says has a ghost attached to it. And if you've ever seen even a single horror movie, you know what a terrible idea it is to go out and buy this haunted suit.
Yeah.
He wants it for his collection, so he buys it, and it turns out, in fact, that there is a ghost attached to it. The ghost is very real and very dangerous. So that's basically the plot of Heart-Shaped Box. And I wrote that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
That's
it's been almost 20 years. It's been almost 20 years since that book came out.
Wow.
And it's still the scariest thing I've ever written. One of these days, I'll have to try to see if I can match that one in terms of sheer scares. There's lots of other stuff. King Sorrow is scary in places. Nosferatu can be really scary in places. But I think probably Heart-Shaped Box is, in terms of pure fright, I think probably Heart-Shaped Box is the most frightening of them. I would just say, sort of as a related thing, I think maybe the Black Phone might be a better picture than Sinister, which is the movie that Scott Derrickson made with C. Robert Cargill before Black Phone and before they did Doctor Strange. I think that the Black Phone has more heart, and that we fall in love with the characters more. But Sinister's scarier. There's been a scientific study which suggests Sinister is the scariest film ever made. It's scientifically proven Sinister is the scariest film ever made. So,
really?
Yeah. So I know a guy who does some of the research who says, maybe, but I'm willing to believe it. It really is pretty. It really is. It's right there with the most. Got to be right there with the most frightening films ever made. It's intense.
I'd also like the short stories that came out in between, like The Pram.
I did a few Amazon originals. Yeah, I did 3 Amazon originals. The Pram, Jackknife, and Ushers. Probably the best of them is Ushers. That's the middle of the 3 Amazon stories. And that one was actually recently selected for year's best science fiction and fantasy, which was pretty cool. And that was good. That's cool. But The Pram is a good one. The Pram is about a couple that's living in Brooklyn.
Mm.
and she gets pregnant. Then they lose the baby. It's a miscarriage, and she goes through a period of pretty heavy grieving. And
Mm.
he's focused on helping her get over it, but he never really deals with any of his own feelings. He's also lost a baby, and but he
Mm.
doesn't really allow himself to feel anything. They wind up moving to a cottage in Maine during the pandemic, and there's a long walk between his cottage and the local general store, and he goes there to buy groceries, and then he walks there, and then he can't figure out how to carry them all back.
Mm.
And the guy who runs the grocery store gives him a baby carriage, a pram, to push the groceries back in. And then bad things start to happen.
Yeah.
He begins to imagine a baby, but there's something not right with this baby. He can actually hear it crying sometimes, and
Yeah, this is scary.
yeah, it's pretty spooky.
So with all these stories that you have written, it's been a lot. I mean, it's almost 20 years and it's a lot. Do you think like King Sorrow is your best so far?
I do.
I know that. Oh, really?
I
Well,
do.
that was quick.
when I I fell in love in 2016, and I remarried in 2018. And at a certain point, I realized the next novel I wrote was going to be the first novel I dedicated to my wife. And
Jillian, right?
Yeah, Gillian Redfern, right?
Jillian, awesome.
My former editor, she had edited my two of my Nosferatu and the Fireman.
I see.
And I wanted to stick. I think I wanted to impress her. I stuck everything into the book that I tried to do everything that I know how to do in terms of writing scary stories, writing the thriller. I tried to make it as funny as I could make it. I love to write banter. I think I'm pretty good at that. So I tried to bring that out as well in the story. And, I just tried to give it everything I had. And I do think that probably it's my Heart-Shaped Box might be my scariest book. And Nosferatu, I think, has been a real favorite. But I do think King Sorrow is the best of them.
Nice. That's really good to hear. And also,
it's great to know. I think it's great to know that everyone would love to know exactly the moment in their life when they've peaked. Presumably, it's all downhill from here. I'll always be able to say, yeah, I know when I peaked, when it all started to go off the rails.
So, what do you think you will write next, though? I mean, I'm sure that many people are asking right now, like, what's next after King Sorrow? I mean, this one has been so well received. I think, is this actually your most successful book launch?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is right? The most successful of them, for sure.
Amazing.
So, when I turned 50, I stopped for a moment and thought, what do I want to do in my 50s? I never really stopped to think. I never made a plan. I was always just flying by the seat of my pants. I would just go from one project to the next project to the next project. And, whatever felt right, that's what I do next. But when I was 50, I sort of paused for a moment and stood back and thought, okay, what do we want to do now? And I decided I wanted to be a book a year writer. There are all these writers that I love who are reliable about turning out a new book every single year. Yeah. And I thought, let me see if I can do 10 books in 10 years. So that's what I'm trying to do. We'll see if it happens. That's one of the reasons why I know King Sorrow was the last really long one, at least for a while.
Okay.
Because they can't all be 900 pages long if I'm going to do it. So the next book is all done. It's called Hunger. Hopefully it will be out in October 2026. No promises. Don't completely hold me to it. But the plan right now is to have it out in October of 2026. In some ways, Hunger is the kind of thing I do well, that I know how to do. It's a ghost story, and I think I know my way around a ghost story. In another sense, it's way outside my normal comfort zone. It's a very different kind of book. It's a historical novel set in the 18th century, set right in the heart of the American Revolution. So we'll see what people think of that. But, if I can do a book a year, whatever people think of it, there'll be another one in 2027. We'll just keep chugging.
Well, I certainly wish you good luck on that. I mean, that's ambitious.
We'll see. I'm hopeful. I mean, the important thing is I've got the next one done and I'm working on the book for 2027. So as long as you can stay pretty well ahead of it, as long as you can, as long as you're working on the next thing, I think it's possible. I do think it's doable. Yeah, it doesn't mean no more writing comics. I have to put comics aside. I can't be doing comics and screenplays and novels and have a novel a
Yeah.
year. That's too much.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, like, how do you juggle all of this at once?
The goal is to do a novel and a screenplay each year. And the important thing to remember is it only takes about 6 weeks to write a screenplay. It's only a screenplay is only a little more work than writing a short story, but a lot more money.
Oh, okay.
Money's a lot better than writing short fiction.
Yeah. Well, especially short story. I mean, not too many people now read short story, don't they? I think.
Oh, I think there's still the short story largely disappeared as a commercial form in the late 1980s, 1990s. People still were writing them and people were still publishing them, but it was certainly not something you could make a lot of money doing, and it wasn't something readers sought out. Collections were not terribly popular. So there was kind of the short story form in America had a kind of near-death experience in the 1990s, the double O's. And then what happened was Amazon introduced the Kindle. And other e-readers followed. And especially over on Amazon, there's this whole Kindle ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's a very active literary ecosystem with all these micro genres and subgenres and that are extremely popular and there's this whole this very wide set of readers that just plows through stories, just burns right through. It's not uncommon to come across one of these readers who reads 200 Kindle books a year. But a lot of those Kindle books were, if they were printed up, would only be like 45, 60-page short stories, or novellas. And my feeling is people are often looking for something short to read when they're at the airport, or they're going to be on an airplane, or they're on a bus. And so now the short story has sort of reemerged as a big commercial form because it's possible to build a whole profile for yourself as a writer through those ebook ecosystems and capture a wide readership. And a lot of this stuff sells for 99 cents or $1.99, but if you've written a bunch of it, that's a real income stream.
Yeah, true.
So I mean, I think even I might be wrong, but I think the Murderbot stories began as short story. Yeah, I think those were like short stories and novellas that were basically self-published through Kindle.
They're novellas and they're so successful.
And now they're in print, big major publisher, TV show, and but that all began as I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that all began as sort of self-published stories that became popular through those little e-publishing ecosystems.
Oh, I see. And do you find writing short story more difficult compared to novels? I mean,
for sure. Short stories,
it is, right?
Yeah. I joke to my wife about introductions. I've written a lot of introductions, and I joke to my wife. I always say writing an introduction is hard work, but on the other hand, the money stinks. There's really, why does anyone agree to write an introduction? I don't know. It's just really challenging. It's really difficult to write a good one, and you don't get paid anything.
Yeah.
And short stories are a little bit of the same thing. It's in some ways it's much easier to write a novel. In some ways it's not, but in some ways having a story that can stretch its legs and expand over 300 pages or 900 pages, where you get to know the characters and put them through paces and develop different situations. It's every day you come to work and you know what you're working on. But when you start on a short story, the technical challenges as a craftsman are right in your face and much more intense. But when you're writing the first 3 or 4 pages, in some ways, you have to already have the ending in sight. You already have to know what you're aiming at. It's like shooting an arrow at a distant target. You have to already see the bullseye. But then you also don't want the reader to see the bullseye. You're shooting at it, but you don't want them to see it until you hit it. So it's intellectually and creatively challenging in a way that almost nothing else is. The only thing that's more challenging than a short story is writing a good poem. And I have to say, I've only written 3 good poems in 30 years. I'm just a terrible poet.
Okay, poem is definitely outside of my comfort zone. That's not something that I've enjoyed reading a lot.
The 3 ones that I've written that are good, I think are genuinely good. but that's it. And that's one good poem every 10 years. Doesn't seem like a really high hit rate.
Yeah, I think when it comes to short story versus novel, there's some misconception to it due to the length. Like people think that this is short, this will be easier to write, but that's definitely not the case.
No, definitely not. I agree.
Yeah.
It's all the challenges of a novel compressed into a tight space.
Yeah, true. In 20 pages, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the novel. The novel is taking your readers to the circus, and they get to see the elephants and the tightrope walker and the trapeze artists and the sword swallower and someone juggling flaming torches and it's all under the big top.
Yeah.
Somehow in a short story, you have to bring the elephants and the trapeze artist and the sword swallower into a closet. You have to have the whole circus jammed into a closet somehow, and that is technically quite difficult.
And the
clowns. Always clowns.
Yeah, and the clowns.
Bring on the clowns.
Yeah. So one of the things that you put in King Sorrow and your other books is time skip. Now, this kind of thing, time skip, some readers either dislike that or not. And do you think putting time skips actually makes a better story, a structure in structure? Because some people said that this is a lot of story being skipped. Something like that. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, it varies from story to story and book to book. Every book is different, but I certainly think there's a long history of novels spanning long time periods and dipping in and out of characters' lives. I mean, actually, the Victorian definition of a novel was basically the moral education of the lead character across a series of dramatic inflection points. So David Copperfield, for example, is the story of a life and the moral journey of someone across the course of their life, across a series of potent dramatic moments. And Thomas Hardy, Mayor of Casterbridge, Jude the Obscure, same kind of thing. You're really looking at a life over a few decades, and they're defining moments that shape that character, defining challenges that reveals who those characters really are and what their potential is as human beings. And in the modern world, novels do all kinds of things and don't often follow the Victorian definition. I mean, a Harlan Coben novel is nothing like that. A Harlan Coben novel is, some guy wakes up in the morning, he's hungover and he's on his couch and his children have disappeared and his wife is dead and everyone thinks he killed her. And he's got, and then he goes on the run from the cops and he has 48 hours to find out, he has to find out who really killed his wife and stole his children before the cops catch up to him. And it all takes place in one insane weekend with people shooting at each other and a chase in the swamp and it's a great entertainment, but it's nothing like the Dickensian novel. It's nothing like Oliver Twist or even something like A Christmas Carol, which also takes place in a single night. I mean, but A Christmas Carol is still a survey of a whole life. We still get all of Scrooge's life and all the really important moments that shaped him. So some of what I've done, like Heart-Shaped Box, is more like a Harlan Coben type novel. Tightly compressed, situational, just a few days, characters in trouble, running for their lives. That's one kind of novel. King Sorrow does some of that, but in some ways is more Victorian, is more, here's the shape of these people's lives over 25 years. And we're gonna pop in on them every few years and see how they're doing and who they are now. And I did know when I wrote it, one of my goals is I wanted to take a moment and reflect upon the kind of lives people from my generation have lived. I kind of wanted to look at who we've become over the last quarter of a century. I'm haunted. I don't know how much of this comes through in King Sorrow. I mean, King Sorrow is ultimately a big fantasy horror adventure story about a giant dragon.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of this comes through there, but I am haunted somewhat by the motto, the motto that Mark Zuckerberg passed around in the early days of Facebook, where he
What
said,
was it?
"We want to move fast and break things."
Oh,
And in some ways, I think my generation decided to move fast and break things out of a desire to make as much money as possible. And the result is we now live in a very broken world. My
yeah.
generation moved fast, broke everything in sight, and now we're all standing around in the wreckage going,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. Personally speaking, from my perspective as a reader, I think we right now are actually devoid of this kind of stories, like these big time skips that tells the
Yeah.
life of these characters, what happened to them, what happened to their family, their next generation. I like those kind of stories. But this time, I mean, lately, every time there's a big time skip, people are just instantly put off. I don't know why. Yeah, but I don't think that actually happened with King Sorrow. This is one of those few books that people keep on telling me that the time skip actually really works,
I
and
mean,
I
I
think
think
that's high praise.
that is really a kind thing to say. If it works, I think it works because although it's skipping through time, each time we visit with one of the characters, you're actually getting this tiny compressed little thriller. So you're actually
Yeah.
getting a very, I mean, in part 3 begins in the first page on part 3. One of my heroes is standing at a window looking down at Brooklyn. And 1 block away, there's an enormous explosion that throws cars and bodies, this huge ball of flame, and the shockwave blows the window in on him, and he's knocked onto his back. And as he's recovering, he gets a call from his wife who says there are people after them. And he has to get out of the apartment right away. And it's like, that's on the first page. We're moving. We're trucking right along. And so I don't really think people dwell on how much time that we've just skipped over 5 years from the last part. People don't really pause on that because we're already launched into a new
era.
short thriller.
Yeah, true. So, in your own words, what do you think would be the main themes of King Sorrow throughout this decades of story?
So, my heroes find themselves trapped in this moral quagmire where the dragon that they've brought into our world is demanding that they find someone new to kill every year. And they have to find a way to live with themselves. One of the friends is a fella named Colin Wren, a budding libertarian tech bro. And he says to the others, "What do you know about Biafra?" And the others say, "Tell us about Biafra." And he says, in the 1970s, the CIA financed a civil war in Biafra, and thousands died. Tens of thousands of people died. Why did they do it? To keep prices low at the gas pumps. So people could fill their cars, fill the gas tanks in their cars without going broke. Colin says, there's always been a red backdrop to American life. There has always been a certain amount of killing and suffering inflicted in other places in the world so that we could live in security and comfort. And we've never let it bother us. So this is his argument for making their peace with the arrangement they've made with the dragon. And one of the other characters says, maybe we should let it bother us. Do you ever think maybe we should think about it? And I guess that's what King Sorrow was doing for about 900 pages, is it's thinking about it. It's thinking about, how much of a moral stain is on us for the decisions our country makes in our name to provide us with the things that we want, the life that we want, and what does that mean, and how do we wrestle with it? How do we think about it? But that's all kind of like the thematic stuff running under the hood. Ultimately, we're banging from one intense scene to another. There's, air disaster tale with the dragon outside the window. So that's the kind of, I'm not here to give anyone a moral lecture. It's not
Well,
this is not my philosophical monologue. It's a
yeah,
dark fantasy.
yeah.
It's supposed to be fun.
Well, still though, those actions and those great stories. I mean, when there are actually food for thoughts, it always means a lot. So it's good to have that. And this is probably the final question, and then after that,
Okay.
we'll. This is what are some of the inspiration for the book?
Well, I've told people about all kinds of stuff that inspired
Mhm.
the book. I talked about Donna Tartt's The Secret History, which
Oh,
is a classic, came out in 1990. That book's reputation grows with every passing year. It's a real
yeah.
landmark for readers of my generation. That is about 6 friends who meet in a liberal arts college, do something terrible, and have to deal with the moral fallout. It's like, what does that sound like?
Oh yeah.
I've talked a lot about the influence of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and my desire to write about a character like Smaug, to sort of have a dragon that might feel a little bit like Smaug's nastier relative.
Mhm.
But really, I think the source of the book, when you come right down to it, is the 1960s Disney film Pete's Dragon. King Sorrow is basically the horror movie version of Pete's Dragon.
Oh really?
It is
Hold on,
about 6 friends.
I think I have seen this one. I'm gonna check it
about
for a
6
while.
friends and their pet dragon, and the care and feeding of their pet dragon for 25 years. And it looks pretty fun in Pete's Dragon, but actually would maybe not be not much of a good time.
Okay, that definitely took me by surprise. I did not expect that at all. Peace Dragon, good one. Well,
I gotta see the remake. Sometime. The one that they did with Robert Redford. I've only ever seen the original.
I saw the original, but it was a long time ago. I don't think I have actually seen the whole movie. I
Oh,
don't think.
really? It's
Yeah,
great.
it was kind of like it passes by, and I just watched like a few minutes, and then I needed to go. So yeah.
Oh, I think I've seen it like half a dozen times.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of these ones we had on videotape when I was a little kid. It's great.
Mm. King Sorrow is the a-hole version of Pete's Dragon. See, everyone didn't expect that. But yeah, to close this up, I just want to say thank you so much, really, Joe, to coming to this interview. It means a lot for you, for me, and also everyone watching right now, for you to visit my channel. And for those of you who are watching this right now, please check out King Sorrow. This thick book, yeah, it's massive. Okay,
Available in bookstores, better bookstores near you for very reasonable prices.
Yeah, for all the reasons that many people have mentioned the past few weeks, I think this is truly something special, and many people will remember this for years to come. So yeah, that's pretty much it from us today. Thank you so much, Joe, for coming, and thank you so much, everyone, for watching.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for tuning in, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hold on. This always happens. Wait.